Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of NEWSWAVE, written, produced and recorded in the heart of Cornwall by the team here at Chaos Radio. I'm your host, Tom Howe, and I'll be guiding you through some of the insightful guests and exciting news content that we've shared across Chaos Radio this past week. On today's show, we join Elliott Simcox on the journey of a lifetime in aid of Refuge Movember UK. Elliott cycling around the world from Newquay to Australia and speaks to me during a stop off in Malaysia. We check in with Tim Bunting, Chief Executive at Cornwall Air Ambulance, who joined breakfast show presenter Cheryl Gordon to discuss the final phase of their Heli2 Appeal, aimed at funding the medical fit of their second life-saving helicopter. As well as that, we take a trip to Mevagissey Museum to celebrate the grand opening of its brand new entrance and the start of a new season with two of our lovely community journalists, Janice and Harley Rowlands. If all that wasn't enough for you, well, we hear from a group of residents based in a close-knit village just outside of St Austell that have come together in a bid to save their local pub from closure. Joe Allen and myself met with Grampound Community Pub members Simon Fielder, Joe Shaw and Johnny Powell to explore the group's plans.
NEWSWAVE.
Okay, we're kicking off the show by hearing from a good friend of mine who has taken on a challenge that actually, when I was preparing for this interview, I found was incredibly difficult to describe in words. So to sum it up quite literally, he's taken on a round-the-world cycle challenge from Newquay to Australia, raising money for Refuge Movember with very, very little cycle experience or preparation. His name is Elliott Simcox, his story is amazing, don't miss it, it's truly incredible, and besides, he took the time to chat with me after a long day cycling 100 kilometres through Malaysia, so the least you can do is hear what he had to say.
NEWSWAVE.
Yeah, as you know, my name's Elliott Simcox. I grew up in Birmingham, up in the Midlands, and I moved down to Cornwall when I was 19 years old, where I worked, surfed, made friends, done all that kind of stuff. And now, as a living, I work as a tree surgeon back in Newquay. I've been doing that for about 3 years, which I thoroughly enjoy. And then, I decided to do this crazy adventure about 9 months ago.
Right, tell me about this crazy adventure. For people that are listening and might be hearing this story for the first time, what have you got yourself involved in, Elliott?
Oh, you don't even want to know. So it all started. I've always wanted to go travelling. South East Asia and Australia, especially, have been somewhere I've always wanted to go. But just before I was about to leave, a couple of months before, I was looking at different ways of travelling to Southeast Asia and Australia. So I was on YouTube, I was looking around at camper van tours, motorbike touring, and then I seen this video of bike packing. So I was looking into that, and honestly, overnight I was absolutely invested, obsessed with this whole bike packing scene. Bearing in mind, I'm not a cyclist. I didn't own a bike at all. I have no experience in it, but I just loved the idea and thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. So within the next couple of weeks, I bought a bike, bought all the stuff, tested the bike out a couple of times, and a few months later, sent it.
What's the process then? I suppose then it seems like a bit of a dream, doesn't it? And you don't know what's going to happen next, do you? What's the process?
I think that's the beauty of it. Before, I didn't want to do the whole generic backpacking and the typical kind of touristy kind of things. I wanted a bit more out of it. I wanted that mental and physical challenge. And I thought, cycling day in, day out and exploring all these different areas, these rural areas, which are not necessarily like a tourist area. I thought that was the attraction in it. I just kind of looked into it, planned a kind of rough route in my head, country by country, and just went with the flow and took all the obstacles and everything else along the way.
Amazing. Okay, so where does it all start for you?
Yeah, so we left. I started the journey with my mate Harry. He wanted to try this absolute adventure that I was doing. So we left. Where we jumped in the car with him up to near London, where his family were. So he could see his family, and then we basically cycled into Dover, and then jumped on the ferry from there into France and left. So. Yeah, that's where it started.
Amazing. And when was this? Can you remember the date?
Yeah, of course. It was on the 29th of July, 2024.
Okay, fantastic. And then on to Europe. What can you tell me about your journey through Europe?
To begin with, I weren't necessarily nervous, but it was just going into the unknown. Like I was watching all these videos and, obsessing on what to do. But when you actually put yourself into it and you land in another country and you think, right, you've got no hotels booked, you don't know where you're going to stay, you don't know what's around the corner. That was the real concern. But once you got on the bike and you started pedaling, the excitement of seeing new things, meeting new people, it all just kind of fell into place. And it was only until the evening times really that was the concern. As you wild camping half the time because of Europe being so expensive. We wanted to save money by camping, so sometimes you didn't know where you were, what areas you were in. Is it safe? Is it not? And yeah, you just kind of get stuck in. But after the first week or so, it kind of falls into place, and you get kind of a good routine of it.
You must have had so many once in a lifetime opportunities. Can you just go through some of the things that have really, really stuck with you and changed the way you look at the world, perhaps?
Definitely. And I've got to say, if anybody out there needs to be humbled or just to realise how lucky we are and the position we're in, you need to go to India, because honestly it's changed the way I look on myself, on my life, and everyone else around me. When we arrived, the first thing was the pollution levels. So when we arrived there in Delhi, it was one of the highest pollution rates that they've ever had in a long time. Kids weren't allowed to go to school. It was horrendous, mate, honestly. And the amount of smoke and pollution, because the farmers were burning all the crops in the north as well, so you could see in the air how thick it was, and breathing was difficult. And then it went to seeing the poverty around you and the people going through what they're going through every day. It was a real eye-opener. Just simple things where it could be, things could be cured by antibiotics, but people don't have the money to do, to have these kind of things and to buy these medicines, and they're suffering. And it was a real shock. It was bad, and that was just on the first day. And then obviously we cycled this place called the Golden Triangle, which was from New Delhi to Agra, where the Taj Mahal was, and then Agra to Jaipur. And these are some of the most dangerous roads, busiest roads in the world. And we cycled it peak pollution, peak times. It was out of this world. But cycling through these rural areas where you wouldn't really see if you were a tourist, you really got to see the thick of it. And some of the things that we seen was unreal. But one thing I noticed, no matter how tough things were for the people over there, family and friends was so important. And it just made me think, everybody, myself included, you've probably done it, where you think, oh, my life's tough, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that. And then you see these people who are literally surviving every day. They haven't got running water, they haven't got a roof over their head, they've got these illnesses and infections that simple antibiotics can cure, and they just can't. They're literally just surviving every day. And to see this and pretty much be hopeless because you can't help or do anything it was a real humbling experience. And I'll come away and one thing I've learned is I will never have anything to complain about in my life again. Some of the positives are just meeting some of the most beautiful people, mate. Like they are the most genuine, nicest people out here. and we're cycling down the road, and people are coming out of their homes to offer us food and a place to stay, and all this kind of stuff. And obviously the food as well in India is incredible. Like, I'm a big foodie, as you've probably seen on my videos. Like, I'm all about the food, and going through India, the people, the hospitality, how kind they are. It's genuinely unmatched. It is unmatched.
We know you like a challenge, obviously, but you don't shirk it either, do you? You've eaten some strange things. What's been on what's been on your menu, Elliott?
Oh wow! I mean, everything. But for the weird kind of creepy crawly stuff, I've had quite a bit. So I've eaten snakes, scorpions, spiders, grubs, cockroaches, you name it, mate. I've eaten it.
And in terms of other kind of experiences and cultures and ways of living life, have you done anything sort of brand new in terms of maybe a different activity, or done something celebrated in another culture that was completely new to you? Have you been able to immerse yourself in anything?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was there's a couple of times actually, when I was in India, we went to a Tibetan settlement, which was unbelievable. We got in with we really got stuck into their culture with the food, the dancing, the singing and everything, and that was a really nice event. We went there for the evening, tried all the Tibetan food, and then we went up onto this rooftop where they'd done the traditional dancing, and they were all dressed up like the men and the women. They looked beautiful, and they were all doing this dance. And I got stuck in and was having a dance around, and helping making the food and stuff like that. And again in India, we were invited to a wedding, which was probably one of the most amazing experiences as well. They put a safa. They put like this thing on our head. And then again, we went into the wedding, and because we were their guests, they put us on the main stage, and they were taking pictures with us. They were feeding us. They were, showing us like the dancing and the instruments they use, and it was just an incredible experience.
So you're in Malaysia now, and it's the end of a long day for you by the sounds of it. It's 10:22 where I am. How's it looking where you are?
Yeah, so it's coming up to 6:30 on the evening now. We started out at around 9 this morning. We've done just over 100 kilometres. It's been a long day, but it's been rewarding. We've seen some nice temples. We've seen some monitor lizards today. We've seen snakes. We've seen it all. So it keeps it fun and exciting. But it's nice to get into a nice hotel room at the end of a long day cycle.
Yeah, one thing that's been sort of dominating the news this side of the world, if you like, is those earthquakes in Myanmar and Thailand. Do you feel anything where you were at all?
No, I didn't. So I seen it, and I've had some messages of friends and family back at home saying what went on, and I weren't too far from where the buildings were collapsing in Bangkok recently. So it was pretty scary, but I didn't feel anything. But when I was in Nepal, there was a huge earthquake as well. I think it was 7.1, and that woke me up. I was right in the middle of that, and people in Kathmandu, where I was staying, had to evacuate some of the buildings where the infrastructure wasn't as up to date as others, and that was pretty intense. It's a month ago. We were there, so it's really sad. It is really sad.
Okay, so what are your next steps? Where's the finish line? How are you getting to the end from here?
So from here, we're currently probably around a day's cycle away from Singapore, where we're going to be spending a couple of days in Singapore, seeing the city, and then we have to get a ferry onto a couple of islands into Indonesia until we're on the mainland, and then from there we're going to cycling east across down all the way down to Bali, which is the kind of furthest point we'll go. and there we'll spend a couple of weeks maybe relaxing, having a bit of downtime before the flight over to Australia. So I'll be flying into Cairns on the east coast, and from there I'll be making my way down over. I've got a visa for 3 months, so from there I want to make my way down to Brisbane, and in between there's Whitsunday, there's all these places, the Great Barrier Reef that I want to go and check out and explore, and definitely Steve Irwin Zoo. Watching that as a kid, that's somewhere I've always wanted to go and see. So that'll be the highlight of Australia for sure. But yeah, once I'm in Brisbane, that'll be the end goal and the end destination. Sorry, and then I'll be heading home.
How'd you get home? I presume you're not cycling back.
Never again. Never again. I've done it once. I can tick it off and say I've done it, but I won't be cycling for a while. I'm going to have a well-earned rest off the bike. So yeah, I'll be jumping on a plane for sure.
Has it been the same bike or the same chassis of a bike the whole way? Have you had to swap? What sort of repairs have you had to encounter?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, I'm not a cyclist, mate. I don't have any experience or idea of bikes. I rocked up to Halfords in Truro, just bought a random budget bike and left. And bless that bike, it is my pride and joy now. That is going to be on the wall, on my feature wall when I'm home. But yeah, as for repairs and stuff, I've gone through tyres, I've gone through countless inner tubes, front and rear cassettes. Yeah, you name it, I've had it. But the frame, I think it's the frame and the front wheel. That's still going strong. But everything else, I've pretty much had to repair myself.
Oh, that's a great advert for Halfords as well. So
yeah, fair play, Halfords. I remember going into Halfords and telling the guy what I was doing, and the look on his face, he was like, "What? Like, what are you thinking?" And I was just like, "Mate, it's something I need to do, and I'm not going to stop until it's done." So the fact that I've took that little bike, my pride and joy, all the way across the world through all these countries, and I'm almost there. It's a massive achievement for myself and that bike, so I'm super proud of it.
What about the body as well? Like, how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, when I first started, I'd wake up and it'd feel like I'd been hit by a bus. Like every part of me was sore. Mentally, that was a challenge as well, knowing that your whole body is aching and you've got to wake up and do it all again, day in, day out, every day until your next stop. But right now, I'm feeling absolutely fine. There's a few niggles here and there, but when you stop and have a rest day here and there, you put a bit of cream on it and rest it up, and away you go. But I think my body's just so used to being, cycling every day. It's pretty good now, mate. I must say. But the one thing that never changes is the saddle sores. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, when you're cycling for 8 or 9 hours a day in the boiling heat, it's there's a lot of rubbing going on, and it can get quite sore. So standing in a nice cold shower at the end of the night is always an added bonus.
And do you have a current figure of how much you might have raised, or how much you even wanted to raise?
Yeah, so I wanted to raise 3,000 for each. I think on the Refuge, I'm currently just over 1,000, and the Men's Mental Health Movember, I'm around 500, I think, which is absolutely incredible. I can't thank everyone enough who's been supporting me and helping me raise money for these charities. But yeah, around 1,500 between the both of them I've raised so far.
But how have people been supporting you over the journey? Obviously, you can't carry a wallet with wads of cash in it, can you? How have people been sort of supporting your journey and making sure that you're in coffees and teas and whatever it is that you might need, energy bars and protein snacks?
This is it. So before I left, I literally I didn't have any kind of support. I saved up all my money. I sold my motorbike, sold all my things, and I just had a bit of money and a budget to go by. And then once I started my TikTok and Instagram and Facebook videos, I honestly was shocked by the amount of support and the amount of interest I had on my videos from people, all around the country, all around the world, let alone the country, that was, interested. And after a while, I had a few messages on my videos and direct messages saying, "Oh, we love your journey. How can we support you?" And so I have now. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, which is an app where people can just put a couple of quid down on this this page, and it all goes into a pot. I use it for rainy days, basically. If I'm ever stuck with my bike, or there's times I've had to hitchhike and all this kind of stuff, and just these little hiccups that happen along the way, I use that money. And I always thank everyone for supporting me through that, because it does really help when you're on a budget, and things go wrong here and there. It can take a chunk out of your money sometimes. So to have the support of other people through that app is incredible. But just let alone that app, I think just the support I'm getting anyway through comments and messages, that's enough to keep me going. And the support I've been getting, mate, is honestly, it's incredible. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting half as much attention on my accounts that I'm getting now. But people are very invested and interested in what I'm doing. So making these videos, not only for myself now, but for the people watching, it's really good.
Okay, so just lastly there, where can people follow you? Where can they find more information? How can they support you and the charities as well?
Yeah, sure. So all the information about the charities or the Buy Me a Coffee, I have links on my bio through Linktree, but all of the videos I post are on my Instagram, TikTok and Facebook, which you'll find everything there. I'm always updating and telling my viewers and following what I'll be up to next and whatnot. So it's all across my social medias. So on Facebook, it's just Elliott Simcox, and my Instagram is Elliott_Simcox, and then on my TikTok it is it's called Bike Packer Al. It's all across there. You'll see a man sweating and struggling on a bike, and it's me. To be honest, I never had a TikTok before, mate. I was never on the TikTok scene, and before I left, a few of my mates at work who have it, they were saying maybe you should try this and do that, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. It'll be nice to edit videos day to day and look back at it in the future, and sit down with the lads and my family and watch it all through. But honestly, I was not expecting it to go the way it was, and having people notice me now in Southeast Asia and saying hello, I follow you on TikTok and this, that and the other. It's an unreal experience, it really is, and I can't thank everyone enough for the support I've been getting. It honestly, it keeps me going. When days are tough, I can log on to my my social media and see all the support I'm getting, and it does help a lot. So I appreciate everyone supporting me.
NEWSWAVE.
We salute you, Mr. Elliott Simcox. A massive well done on getting to where you are now, for the amount of money you've raised up to this point, and a huge good luck for the final few legs of your journey. See you back in Cornwall later on this summer. You can follow Elliott's journey on social media. Search Elliott Simcox, that's SIMCOX on Facebook, Elliott_Simcox on Instagram, or Bike Packer L, that's Bike BIKE, Packer PACKERLELL on TikTok. Just a reminder, if you're coming in late and missed any part of our chat with Elliott, or you would like to hear the whole interview, as we only gave you a sneak preview here on NEWSWAVE, you can do just that by heading over to chaos.radio and clicking catch up. Okay, Chaos community journalist Janice Rose and Harley Rowlands visited Mevagissey Museum recently to celebrate the grand opening of its brand new entrance and the start of a new season. They were joined there by Chair Jane Morgan, who explained the fascinating story behind the venue.
NEWSWAVE.
Well, we've been having a grand opening at the museum today for our new entrance and our new roof, with the funding from the Shared Prosperity Fund and very generous donations from the local community and people far and wide. We've been able to fulfil a dream that has been a dream for 6 to 9 years, to actually have a new entrance to the new museum and merchandise and a little shop.
The entrance makes such a big difference, because before, I remember, it was quite a narrow entrance and you weren't too sure whether it was a museum or not.
What we've done is open the museum out to the harbour now with the double doors. People can see us. Before we had a little circular desk, 2 doors. It was dark, dingy, and half the people, tourists and visitors, didn't know we were here.
You may be a small museum, but you have got big status. Do tell us about the awards you won recently.
Oh yes, the Cornwall Heritage Awards. We actually were put forward for the Collaboration Award, working with the RNLI in the 200 years, and we were successful in winning that award. Great honour. We were put up for 2 other awards as well, but we got highly commended for those.
Absolutely amazing to see, and it gives the volunteers here and everyone that sense of achievement to want to do more and aspire higher, doesn't it?
We've got over 30 volunteers here who do a rota twice a week for us, if not more, and for them it's their achievement as well. They also have an input into the museum and how it's run. It's not just the trustees and the management team.
With most museums, there's going to be a variety of roles. So if people were interested in volunteering with you, what could they possibly be doing if they turned up?
If they wanted to volunteer for the museum, they would be meeting and greeting people. They would be helping with the museum artefacts, merchandising, helping us with the shop, cleaning, all sorts.
Obviously, everybody has a real passion for this place.
No, they do, absolutely. And that's what keeps it going. It's the passion, and it's just the enthusiasm that people have for it.
I'm back at Mevagissey Museum. Would you like to introduce yourself to me?
Yes, my name is Didge Allen, and I'm the trustee, treasurer, and also a volunteer at the Mevagissey Museum. Although I wouldn't call myself a curator, I like to look after the archive side of the museum. So my job is mainly sort of sorting out new displays and also trying to find out about putting up displays, especially for special events that have commemorations.
It sounds absolutely fascinating here, just wandering around and looking at all the exhibits. I mean, you're open from Monday, but how did you manage to keep everything so clean and tidy during building work?
That was a big task for us this year. We always have what we call our winter deep clean. We close at the end of October and we reopen at the end of March. After October, all the work started on our new extension, which is the new front and the reception area. And of course, anyone knows with building works, this causes an awful lot of dust, if nothing else. It was impossible for us to actually cover our displays as well as we could. So in January, the beginning of January, when our building work had finished, we decided then to do an even deeper clean this winter. We started at the top at the beginning of January and we worked our way down, and every single item has been removed from its display area, from its hanging position. If it's possible to move it, we have moved it and cleaned it. Up until a week ago, we were cleaning, and everything, if you come to the museum and see how many items we've got, you will be surprised how much you can see and what has been taken off of shelves and clean. And the place today is looking sparkling, absolutely sparkling.
Being curator, or being the curator role of Mevagissey Museum, you obviously get to see a lot of artefacts. Do you have any particular favourites?
I think all of them are my favourites in a way because they depict what the village life was like. Although I've said village, a lot of people in Mevagissey will correct me and call it a town because we have a town bridge and we had a town hall. So yes, in this village that we live in, it tells a real social history of what the town was like many years ago. But yes, I do like several of the items. I think my best is the banknote, which is the Mevagissey Bank, and it's a £1 note and it's in a frame, and I think it's very interesting, and people then realise that, you know, it was quite an affluent place, Mevagissey, having its own little bank. Unfortunately, it did fail when the pilchard catch failed one year, but you know, it's very interesting to have this as a legacy.
Thank you so much for bringing this to the public. It is just a marvellous piece of social history. You must absolutely love working here.
Yes, I do, and I'm very passionate about it. We need to keep this museum going. We've had 57 years. This is our 57th year. We owe a lot to the people who started this museum 57 years ago. They had the foresight to manage to ask people to bring items to the Jubilee Hall, and it was collected. And then the museum started and they found somewhere to have the building. So we owe them, and we must keep this building going. But yes, and I really think that the visitors who come here are absolutely fascinated when they come in and see how much is in this actual museum.
NEWSWAVE.
With a fresh new entrance and another exciting season ahead, Mevagissey Museum continues to be a hub of local history and community spirit. A huge thank you to Jane Morgan and the team for sharing their passion and hard work with us. For further details, visit their Facebook page, just search Mevagissey Museum, or visit their website, mevagisseymuseum.com. Right, I'm Tom Howe and you're listening to NEWSWAVE on Chaos Radio. Established in 1987 as the UK's first air ambulance service, Cornwall Air Ambulance continues to provide a vital lifeline for both residents and visitors throughout Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Operating 365 days a year without direct government funding, the charity relies entirely on public generosity to carry out over 1,000 missions annually. Their state-of-the-art AW169 helicopter enables the crew to deliver critical care swiftly, often reaching patients within minutes. Joining us was Tim Bunting, Chief Executive at Cornwall Air Ambulance, to discuss the final phase of their Heli2 Appeal, aimed at funding the medical fit of their second life-saving helicopter.
NEWSWAVE.
Established in 1987 as the UK's first, and I mean first, air ambulance service, Cornwall Air Ambulance continues to provide a vital lifeline for those residents and visitors throughout Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Operating 365 days a year. Without direct government funding, the charity relies entirely on the public's generosity to carry out over 1,000 missions annually. Their state-of-the-art AW169 helicopter enables the crew to deliver critical care swiftly, often reaching out to patients within minutes. Joining us now this morning, and we're pleased to welcome back Tim Bunting, Chief Executive at the Cornwall Air Ambulance, to discuss the final phase of the Heli2 Appeal, aimed at funding the medical fit and their second life-saving helicopter. Very good morning to you, Tim. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Cheryl. Hopefully you're good as well.
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, really pleased to have you back on the show again and to talk about such a worthy cause of something that we've all of us in Cornwall will value so much. Now, this morning, first of all, those who may not be familiar with us, can you give us an overview of the Cornwall Air Ambulance and the service it provides, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you rightly said, we were set up in 1987 as the first air ambulance in the UK. And we've evolved the service over time to now be a critical care air ambulance service, delivering across Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly 365 days a year. And these are very, very sick patients, either through medical incidents or through trauma. Typically around about 1,000 missions a year, although that number we expect to rise given the fact that we're a kind of rising population within Cornwall. Obviously, our busiest months are over the summer when our population swells with visitors, and about one in five of our patients that we airlift is actually a visitor to the county as well. So yeah, we're on shift today. We're on duty, ready to go, and we'll always be on standby. So on average, we're called out 3 to 4 times every single day of the year.
And that proves its value that, 3 to 4 times a day is massively important, a worthy piece of machinery that we've got there and the skill base that you carry on with our great paramedics, etc., that you carry with them. Now, it might be a surprise to people to hear that the Cornwall Ambulance was the UK's first. How do you see things that evolved over the years? I mean, personally, I've seen it evolve massively. From your end, you must see it even more than that.
Absolutely, both in terms of the aviation. So if anybody's been a visitor down to the Land's End attraction, you'll have seen the first air ambulance there as an exhibit. And you compare it to the AW169, which is our state-of-the-art helicopter we use today. and they're chalk and cheese. They're poles apart in terms of the capacity within the cabin, the flight capability, the technology that's on board the aircraft, but equally the evolution of the service from what was as kind of a standard ambulance through to now what is a critical care hospital in the sky with highly skilled clinicians at the top of their game. They are the only provision for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly who can carry out critical care jobs, accompanied by doctors as well. So yeah, over that 38 odd years of history, we haven't stood still. We've had to invest in the patient because, when someone is poorly, then time is absolutely critical. And the fact that we can be typically anywhere within the Cornish mainland within 12 minutes of a shout coming in, is testament to that speed of reaction. And there are a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of your listeners to this day, who've got a lot to be grateful for the air ambulance crews and what they can deliver.
Yeah, funny enough, you should say that, but last night I went to dinner with some friends, and my friend was an example of the air ambulance playing a big part in her life, and actually to the point where it saved both herself and her expectant child as well at the time.
Oh, wow.
So it's just an incredible feeling to know that I'm here now, sat here talking about something that's so incredible and so dear to myself as well.
Oh no, and again, if you speak to the crews, they will say that they can only do what they do with the support of a huge number of people, and everybody that drops a penny in the pot or goes and visits one of our shops is a lifesaver. So we never know when we might get that call, but we want people to know that they are all lifesavers, and with the second aircraft that will really evolve the service further. It's currently in Gloucester, and it's having basically a hospital fitted into the back of it as we speak. So we've got this final push for the final £197,000 to complete what will be the very best air ambulance in the country, if not the world.
That, I mean, in the fact that we're in such a rural place within Cornwall, it stands testament to itself tenfold, doesn't it? Now, just looking, we see that you responded to 74 missions in January and 56 in February. Figures like that don't even take into account the busy tourist season ahead. How does this highlight the growing need for your life-saving service, and how crucial or having a second helicopter to be meeting that demand?
It's critical. As I said, we typically see quieter times in kind of January, February. We're now obviously towards the end of March when, both visitor numbers go up, the weather improves as well, so people are outdoors more often. We're all digging the lawnmower out of the shed and the strimmer out of the shed to cope with the garden, and who knows what might happen. So we do tend to get busier from kind of spring onwards. And I think by having that second aircraft, that will give us that capability, that resilience in the service, and the versatility to be able to cope with those spikes in demand, whatever they might be for, whether that be a medical incident or a trauma incident.
This is where we need to have that big push now. £200,000 left to raise. Only 6 weeks left to do it. How can the community help you reach your target?
In a whole host of ways. As I said, every penny, every pound counts towards us. We're really close to getting the medical fit, but we can only do this with people's support. So if people like to phone up and make a donation, or they can donate through the website, alternatively go into one of our shops, buy some of the goods in there, and there's some absolute bargains to be had. We've just opened up a shop up in Lanson, and that's doing brilliantly. We're also, people can shop online and buy products there. So really, any way, do an event, have a cake sale, get friends round for a cup of tea and a sandwich, and charge them a couple of quid to come along and have a chat. Anything people can do to help us reach this goal. The clock is ticking here. We really, really, really want to get the aircraft into service by the summer. So that's why we've kind of set ourselves a bit of a deadline there, because, as you say, every second, every minute counts, and to have that second aircraft in Cornwall is just going to be so important and a vital service. And it's a service that, we never know when we might need, but we really want to be there for people.
Is Cornwall the only area in the county that will have two air ambulances running at one time, do you know?
There are places like Kent's are in Sussex. Obviously, their air ambulances. They've got 2, but they're covering 3 counties. So I think we will be very fortunate and probably one of the first to have 2 dedicated to. It's a huge area and landmass that we have to cope with, and obviously the Isles of Scilly as well. We service, and they're getting busier, and it's a relatively small resident population. But round about now, I think Salonian's kicking off for a final summer season before the new ship arrives, and then we'll see the visitor numbers go up. So once again, we're serving the Salonian community up 27 odd miles off Land's End. So we have to cope with what is a massive landmass, a huge coastline as well. And so the second aircraft will hugely help to give us that resilience, that capability and that versatility of service. And everybody has a part to play, and we cannot wait for that second aircraft to arrive. So yeah, please, if people have got, I know times are tough at the moment, a spare pound, a spare penny, please do pop them in a pot if you see one around, or pop into the base or pop into one of our shops, because everything counts, and we just really want to get that second aircraft.
Yeah, the beauty about it is that you can have somebody in the Isles of Scilly needing that support, and as well as somebody in Cornwall needing that support in one go. So everyone that's listening this morning, you can hear and see how important this target is to do it. If you win the lottery this weekend by any chance, just throw it in Tim and his team's direction, because it'll be gratefully received.
Yeah, very, very much so. And these helicopters, they're complex machines. They're very, very capable machines. And if someone wins, the Euro Millions, I was speaking to someone the other day. They had a premonition they were going to win. I think it was 182 million. I haven't heard back from them, so whether they have or not, I'm not sure. But if you do win the Euro Millions, think of us here, please.
Tonight's a night, isn't it? I think it's not that we say that gambling is a thing, actually, but it's a night. It's a big one on the Euros tonight. So never know. You never say never.
Never say never. But as I said, even if you don't win, just think of you, your family, your loved ones. If there was the need there, we would be there to help and support. And what price can we put on someone's life? And as I said, we're called out 3-4 times a day. The average cost of a mission is around about £5,000. But in big scheme of things, what price on that life? And if we can save just one life, it's worth millions, isn't it? I wouldn't want to lose anybody close to me. So hopefully people can help. And as I said, everything helps. We're grateful, incredibly grateful for anything, whatever people do. And we are astonished by the support that we get in terms of the different initiatives people do, from skydives. Last night I was with former Mayor of Truro, Stephen Webb, who did his 500 miles around the coast of Cornwall. He put on a fundraising dinner at the Alverton, which was incredibly well attended. So yeah, it's really humbling, and we're incredibly proud to provide the service for Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly, and it is the people of Cornwall's charity, and we're very pleased to be here.
Are there any events coming up in the next month that you've got going ahead that you're aware of?
I think just have a quick look at our website, and there's a whole list of things that are going on. Keep an eye on our social media as well. Coming up a bit further down the line in July is our Helifest event at Scoria House, which was incredibly well attended last year. And I think today might be the last day of early bird tickets for that. So if you want to get your tickets, because it was really well attended, we don't want to completely sell out, but we're at risk of doing so last year. So it's a family fun day, blue lights, and will be really, really fantastic day for people to come along. Hopefully see their new aircraft if we've raised the money in time, but also see the other fantastic blue light services. Come and hear some bands. There's fun fair as well for the children. So yeah, really affordable, fun day out. And Helifest 19th of July, Scoria House.
Oh, sounds an amazing event, Tim. Tim, it's been great speaking to you again this morning. Before you go, can you remind our listeners how they can offer their support and find more information about the Cornwall Air Ambulance, please?
Absolutely, yeah. If you go to our website, which is cornwalleirambulancetrust.org, and all the information is on there. Or you can pop into the base here at Trevithick Downs or any of our shops, and there's all the information in there. So we're St Austell, Camborne, Helston, Lanson, Bodmin, and Weybridge. So yeah, all those shops will gladly take any support that you can provide. But it's fantastic talking to you, Cheryl, and I know you've got a lot of listeners, so hope everybody is enjoying themselves, and please do stay safe this weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, look forward to speaking to you and your team again next month. Have a great
Brilliant.
day,
Thanks
Tim.
so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Take care. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you very much to Tim Bunting, Chief Executive at the Cornwall Air Ambulance, for providing insights into the charity and recent activities and future plans. We'll be hearing more from the team next month. In the meanwhile, for more information, support the Heli2 Appeal. Visit cornwalleirambulancetrust.org.
NEWSWAVE.
Thank you to Tim Bunting, Chief Executive at Cornwall Air Ambulance, for providing those insights into the charity's recent activities and future plans. We'll be hearing more from the team next month, but in the meantime, for more information and to support the Heli2 Appeal, visit cornwalleirambulancetrust.org. Right, many of us love putting the world to rights with a drink in our local pub, but what if that pub closed down? This could be the reality in Grampound, as their only pub, the Dolphin Inn, has been put up for sale by St Austell Brewery. Joe Allen and myself visited the village to talk to members of Grampound Community Pub, a group that's been put together to explore buying and running the pub as a community asset.
NEWSWAVE.
Grampound has got both a big advantage and a disadvantage. It needs a heart, and the pub has created the heart. The bigger problem we have is the A road that goes through the middle. And without the pub, it doesn't have that heart. It's got the village shop and it's got the village hall, both of which have been community supported, and the bowling club and the football club, but they're down at the bottom. The pub forms the heart, and what we need is to maintain that heart of the village.
Can I ask you two the same question, whether you have a specific point to get across about, I suppose, how special this little village is?
Yeah, I think it's very special. As I say, I was born really not far away, but never felt the same sense of community where I came from. This village obviously is very old. It's in the Doomsday Book. It still has a carnival. It's got a real feeling of community, and that's obviously partly because of the people that choose to live here, but it's also having a functioning pub in the very centre of the village, because physically it's in the middle of the village, and I think that helps with people coming from different ends. Yeah, it's really important.
Follow that. They were two very good answers.
I'm really just going to parrot Joe's point about community. I grew up in various different sized towns and villages and cities, and I've never been anywhere quite like this, where everyone does sort of bandy together. Our little cul-de-sac, we're all friends. We have kind of evenings in the street in the summer. This pub is an amazing place to congregate with people of all walks of life, getting to know everybody in the village, and the sense of community is incredible.
Could I add, I came here as a single person, and I would have worried about moving somewhere completely new perhaps, but I instantly found a community here. I came to the pub, the landlord was very welcoming, they introduced me to other people in the pub. I felt like I immediately got to know people, and I don't think there's many places as a single woman you can walk into a pub and feel comfortable, but I was always able to do that here, and that was great. It was an instant way into the community of the village.
How do we get to this point then? When was the first time that you heard that the Dolphin Inn here was up for sale, and what was the immediate reaction?
It actually wasn't very long ago. The previous landlord and his family moved in here and they wanted to buy it. They had the misfortune of only operating for 18 months, I think it was, before COVID struck, and so they had the lockdown to go through, which must have been incredibly difficult for them. They emerged from that still wanting to buy the pub, but then there was an issue with the brewery wanting to sell it as part of a job lot, which the brewery very kindly unwound. But I think by then the landlord and his family just had lost a bit of momentum and a bit of heart, which is perfectly understandable, and the brewery has decided to put it back on the market. So it's a question of them finding a good buyer who will maintain the pub and a restaurant, or we do it.
What was the community response then?
The group that decided that they wanted to do something about it just grew through word of mouth. And we now have a fairly active WhatsApp group. We meet once or, in fact, twice this week to discuss where we're going. Joe and I and a couple of the others on the group, we went up to have a look at another community-owned pub on Dartmoor and were really inspired by what they've done. The Drew Arms, was that? Yeah, the Drew Arms. And they bought a lovely old pub and they've turned it into a thriving business. And I think we can do the same.
So we, as Simon said, we only found out quite recently. It was just back along before Christmas, really. So fairly quickly we had to decide what to do. We were told that the pub would actually be formally advertised after Christmas, so we had a little bit of time to think about what we could possibly do. And because there are stages to go through, we have to form certain formal groups in order to take forward fundraising. So in January we issued a survey to everybody in the village and anybody who wanted to take part online and also physically, and we had a really good response to that. And on the strength of that, we held a public meeting 2 weeks ago, and again we had a good turnout. We had about 40 people who unanimously wanted to support the pub, and we launched a small fundraising just to raise a minimal sum to enable us to go forward, to cover costs, to join a couple of organisations which we think will be helpful to us. So we're still in the kind of strategy phase. We're still looking interestedly at people who might be interested in buying the pub, because as Simon said, that is definitely our first option. We don't want to have to work the pub, we want to come and drink in it. But we also don't want to lose it, and we have to try. If we don't try and we lose the pub, we'll always regret it. Historically, Grampound had about 4 pubs, apparently, back in the day when everyone lived in the pub. This is obviously the last pub standing, but it's been here for several hundred years. It is part of our listed frontage on the main street. I think there were certainly photographs from the late 1800s. Yeah. The Heritage Centre have got lots of information and pictures and pulled together a display for us. So it definitely has an historical background.
It's jobs as well, isn't it? Jobs in there for local people. It's a place to, some people might live alone, and this is somewhere where they can go to actually see people. We see it in libraries, we see it in village halls, we see it in little coffee shops. Pubs are no different, are they?
No. Previous landlords have provided Christmas Day lunch on Christmas Day for a sort of 20 or 30 single people elderly people in the village. And that was just such an amazing act, I think, for people who otherwise would have been alone on Christmas Day. And we would like to replicate those sorts of activities, as well as build bigger group activities.
If it's happening here, it can happen anywhere. So if people from kind of outside the village are listening in and want to join in with this, it could help you in the future if your own pub is struggling and in trouble. And obviously we would do all that we could. Once our kind of knowledge and experience grows, you help us, we help you, sort of thing. I mean, you don't even have to help us for us to help you, but I think getting involved in community projects like this, especially to save assets as important as a pub, I think everyone should at least be aware of and ideally get involved in.
We're aware that if it does come to it that we're the only people standing, we will have to raise a significant sum of money, a lot of money. So obviously it's going to be a call not only support your pub, but show that, put your hands in your pockets for us, help us with fundraising, that kind of thing. And then once the pub is saved, because we're going to be positive about that, it is going to stay, support it, come and use it, come and eat here, come and drink here, come and play games here, bring your families here, come and hang out here. It's a really nice pub and it has an awful lot to offer. So both those messages, but obviously we've got a long way to go, so step by step. But yeah, just help us, support us. Now that we've got our seed funding, we're going to form a formal body of some kind, perhaps a community business group of some description. Then there will be a big launch of the major fundraising push, if it comes to that. If nobody's put up their hand and said, we'll buy the pub and run it, then that's what will have to happen. And obviously that will be a big splash. We're not quite there yet, but that would be the next big thing.
NEWSWAVE.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of NewsWave. A big Chaos Radio thank you to Elliott Simcox, who's on the journey of a lifetime, cycling the world in aid of Refuge Movember. To Chair of Mevagissey Museum, Jane Morgan. To Tim Bunting, Chief Executive at Cornwall Air Ambulance. As well as to Simon Fielder, Joe Shaw and Johnny Powell of the Grampound Community Pub Group. And as ever, a final thank you to you for listening and helping support local journalism to thrive. To catch up on all our coverage, as well as to check out our extensive back catalogue of interviews and shows, head on over to chaos.radio. And remember, if you have a local news story that you'd like to share with us, email news@chaos.radio or search Chaos Radio UK across socials. That's it, you're up to date here on Chaos. I've been Tom Howe. Thanks very much for listening.
NewsWave.
Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.